Welcome to Build Strong Habits podcast channel. Sit back, relax, take your eyes off the screen, and listen. Just listen to this audio podcast, and let's start building habits that transform our life.
Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. Ready for another deep dive? Today, we're going to be looking at Cersei Lannister
Oh, wow.
from Game of Thrones. Yeah,
Interesting choice.
right. I know what you're thinking. She's the queen of, she's queen of a lot of things, but maybe not always the best things.
Questionable choices for sure.
But stick with us. Even Cersei, with all her, flaws,
Yeah.
has some surprising lessons we can all learn from.
I'm intrigued. Let's dive in.
So one of the big things about Cersei is her ambition.
Oh, yeah. Relentless ambition.
Wants to be on top.
Uh-huh.
And in a world like Westeros, a woman in power, that's a tough climb.
It's fascinating, actually. From a psychological perspective, you see this thing called goal displacement.
Goal displacement?
It's where the goal itself, the chase becomes everything. You start to lose sight of, ethics, relationships, even your own well-being.
Like tunnel vision, almost.
Exactly. And Cersei, she's the poster child for this. So focused on power, she trampled over everything to get it.
Yeah, didn't make a lot of friends that way.
No, not really. But this is something we can all relate to. Think about a time when you were so driven, you might have
Stepped on some toes?
maybe just didn't see the bigger picture. Cersei's story is a cautionary tale. Ambition's great, but gotta keep it in check.
Right, gotta keep it ethical.
For sure. Now, on a totally different note, Cersei's love for her children, that was a powerful force.
Fiercely protective. You kind of had to admire that even when she was being, Cersei.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, that intense motherly love.
It wasn't always the best guide, was it?
No. It actually fueled some of her worst decisions, blinded her to the consequences of her actions. Trying to protect them, she ended up
Putting them in more danger.
sometimes, yeah. And this is relevant for all of us, not just parents. How often do we let emotions, even good ones?
Get the better of us.
Exactly. We think we're doing the right thing, acting out of love or loyalty, but got to step back sometimes.
Easier said than done, though, right? When you're in the thick of it.
Oh, absolutely. But that's where self-awareness comes in. Ask yourself,
Yeah.
what's driving my actions right now? Is it really love? Or is it fear? Or anger?
Interesting. Now, something Cersei was good at was strategy. She thought ahead, outmaneuvered her enemies.
Oh, she was cunning, for sure.
Remember when she used wildfire, blew up?
Yeah. Let's just say that was a bold, strategic move.
Definitely ruthless. Effective, but ruthless.
And that's the point. Strategic thinking is essential, right? But there's a line between strategy and
Crossing the line.
manipulation. Cersei crossed it a lot. She was so focused on winning, she forgot about
The human cost.
the human element.
Yeah.
Alienated allies, created fear instead of respect. Real power isn't just about winning at all costs.
You gotta bring people with you.
Exactly. Which brings us to another Cersei classic, holding grudges,
Oh, yeah, never let anything go.
especially against the Tyrells.
And it always came back to bite her, didn't it?
Holding a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
You're the one who suffered.
You got it. It eats you up inside. Now, the antidote to that is forgiveness.
Forgiveness. So, just letting people off the hook.
It's not about that. It's about acknowledging the pain, working through it, then choosing to let go of the resentment. Hard, but
But necessary.
yeah, for growth, for
Yeah.
moving on, makes you wonder if Cersei had been able to forgive,
Maybe things would turn out differently.
maybe she wouldn't have ended up so isolated and alone. So the takeaway here for all of us, what grudges are we holding on to?
What's keeping us stuck in the past? That's something to think about.
Definitely.
Wow, who knew Cersei Lannister had so much to teach us?
She's full of surprises. Just maybe not always the good kind.
You know what's funny, though? For someone so obsessed with power, Cersei didn't seem to understand it all that well.
That's a great point. I mean, she was all about projecting strength, dominance, but
But that's not really how you win people over, is it?
no, it's not. It's mistaking fear for respect.
Hmm.
You might scare people into obeying you for a while, but
But it's not going to last.
exactly. True leadership is about more than just control. It's about inspiring people, motivating them to work towards something.
Together.
Right. You need to understand people, connect with them, something Cersei never quite grasped.
And she went through a lot. Betrayals, imprisonment, even lost her children.
Tragic, yes. And she did have a way of bouncing back.
Always seemed to pick herself up.
But there's a difference between resilience and just,
Surviving.
yeah.
Yeah.
Real resilience is about learning from those setbacks, adapting your approach. Cersei, though, she kept making the same mistakes.
Like she was stuck in a loop.
Think of it like you're in a maze. You keep hitting a dead end, but instead of trying a different path.
You just keep banging your head on the same wall.
Exactly. She had the strength to get back up, but not the wisdom to change direction.
And another thing that got in her way, that massive ego.
Oh, the pride. Bigger than Casterly Rock itself.
Never wanted to admit she was wrong. Never really listened to advice.
Pride can be blinding. It stops us from seeing our own flaws and keeps us from learning from others.
So ironic. She wanted to seem powerful, untouchable, but that actually made her weaker in the end.
It closed her off, kept her from connecting with people on a real level.
Because real strength is also being able to be vulnerable, right? To admit when you need help.
Absolutely. It's about authenticity, building trust, not just putting on a show of force.
Speaking of force, gotta give Cersei credit for her resourcefulness, though.
Oh, yeah. She always found a way.
Remember that whole wildfire situation? Drastic solution, but
It's effective, you gotta admit.
definitely got the job done. But maybe not the most ethical way to handle things.
Resourcefulness is good, but it needs to be balanced with ethical considerations. Cersei's actions sometimes showed a real desperation, a willingness to do whatever it took,
Even if it meant hurting people.
even if it meant crossing some serious moral lines. And then there's the whole manipulation tactic. She loved that.
Everyone was a pawn in her game.
In the short term, sure, manipulation can get you what you want, but
It comes at a price.
a big one. You lose trust, destroy relationships. Cersei's story is a reminder that those kinds of shortcuts,
They don't build anything lasting.
they don't. They just create a foundation built on, well, on sand.
Yeah, eventually the whole thing collapses. You know, for all her scheming and power grabs, Cersei didn't really end up with much, did she?
Yeah, she's pretty lonely, actually.
Pushed everyone away, anyone who could have helped her.
And that's kind of the irony, right? Trying so hard to be powerful, but ending up completely isolated.
Because real power, it's not about being alone at the top.
No, it's about building connections, inspiring people. Think about the great leaders throughout history, the ones we admire,
They're not the tyrants, are they?
right? They're the ones who brought people together, who worked with others. Cersei never learned that.
So big picture then, stepping back from all the Game of Thrones drama, what can we actually take away from Cersei's story?
Oh, I think she acts as a mirror for all of us,
A mirror.
in a way. She shows us our own ambitions, our flaws, the choices we make.
Like a cautionary tale.
Exactly. Reminding us that even with good intentions, we can go down the wrong path.
The road to hell and all that.
Yeah, pretty much. She shows us how unchecked ambition can destroy us, how love can blind us.
And how important it is to let go of the past.
Forgiveness. It's a tough one, but it's key to moving forward. And ultimately, that real power lies in building trust, not fear.
Wow, deep stuff.
It is. But that's what makes Cersei so fascinating. She forces us to confront these big questions.
Well, I think we've officially reached the bottom of this deep dive.
I think so.
Started with Cersei Lannister, a fictional character.
In a fantasy world.
And we end up talking about leadership, ambition, love, even forgiveness.
That's the power of stories, right? Even the most flawed characters can teach us something.
So as you go about your week, think about what we talked about today. Think about the choices you make.
The relationships you build. The legacy you want to leave behind. And maybe, just maybe,
If you feel yourself tempted to pull a Cersei,
take a breath. Choose a different path.
because you have the power to write your own story.
One that's a little less, well, a little less Cersei.
Definitely. And on that note, thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Build Strong Habits. Let us know in the comments how you feel about it and what topics you'd love to hear next. Always remember, we're here to build strong habits together.